everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lit with Lenin. And I guess nowadays we're going to do a little bit of Georgy Dimitrov also. I'm
Yes.
your hostessa. This is Janet. And I don't
Hi.
know if Matt is joining us. Hello, Techloid Tech.
Hello.
We were just talking about how Pete Buttigieg gets royalties for English translations of Gramsci because his dad translated and did a lot of good commentary on Gramsci. And it's so infuriating. And you're like, how the hell did he turn out like? If I think that would be my worst nightmare is if I ever have a child and he turns out to be like Pete Buttigieg. Oh my god,
No kidding. You must be
that I'd rather
rolling.
have a serial killer than oh
No.
my
Yeah, I see it. I
I
could have just.
I mean, Pete Buttigieg like bragged about like killing Afghanis. He's like, I didn't carry a gun in Afghanistan and murdered innocent Afghanistani people so that I don't know, random people can shoot. You remember that tweet?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And they always praise all the horrors that they do, and they think it's a good thing.
yeah. It's like no, you were. And the thing about Afghanistan is when it's like I swear they put in the most rapiest warlords there. It's just it's like the heart of darkness. They like mass relocated people. There was murder. There was genocide. Everything horrible you can think of, like they did.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
to
weren't
the
there
point
to
where people
be.
actually got Taliban nostalgia. Like they were like, "Oh my god, I crave for the good old days of the Taliban." And I mean, when people do that, it has to show you how bad the U.S. installed warlords are. I mean, so if you had a choice between psychotic Islamic extremists who rape children and psychotic Islamic extremists who don't rape children, I'd rather take B.
Yes, and yeah, they didn't really care. Um. Oh, he's here.
He's here. Phew. Where? I don't see him though.
We got to put him on stream with us, and then we make it go. He goes
How do
like.
we make him small? We got it. Hi, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. We were talking about Gramsci and Pete Buttigieg and how he gets royalties and how he doesn't. How having. I'd rather have a serial killer than Pete Buttigieg as a son. Oh my god, it would be horrible.
Wow. Really, Pete Buttigieg is getting royalties from that translation?
Yeah,
Yeah, his
his dad.
father. This is his father's. Did
Yeah,
all the.
I knew his dad was like the preeminent English language Gramsci
Mhm.
scholar, but I didn't realize they paid royalties to academics like
No,
that.
no, no. If you buy a certain edition of the
But
book
yeah,
that
it's
his dad
Oh,
translated, you're
yeah.
yeah.
oh well, yeah, okay. Uh, just as a warning, uh, there's this freaking terrorist in my neighborhood with a La Cucaracha car horn that won't let anybody forget about it. So
What?
if that like comes through my microphone, I'm sorry.
Is that a
I
real by terrorist? You mean really a person who is committing acts of death, or is it like a
well, that's what
hyperbole?
I don't know, but like anybody who has an actual car horn that plays La Cucaracha should absolutely be on some kind of international watch list.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
He might drive Matt to some violence. I don't know.
I thought that this was something that only existed in cartoons before people said no, this is a racist
Yeah.
way to depict mice.
No,
Like
in the
no,
in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s, I think that's when all those weird car.
yeah,
Um,
I didn't know I didn't know this was a thing that actually existed in the real. I really
no,
thought it
no,
was like
they were.
it was a pure, but like no, this motherfucker like 18 times a day is hitting this La Cucaracha car horn
Yeah,
like.
he's about 40 years late with it, but
Yeah. Hello, where? Thank you for joining us. Be sure to tweet this out. Have your friends, family, enemies, everyone join us. The more, the merrier.
yes,
uh,
yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up one thing because I came across the quote this week, and I've seen the quote plenty of times before, but I feel like this is where everyone should be. This is a Karl Marx quote, and it's from when they suppressed his paper. So he says, "We have no compassion. We ask no compassion from you. When our turn comes, we shall not make excuses for the terror." And I want everyone to be at that point.
Yeah, no, I'm way past that point. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I look forward to the red terror that we're gonna, because like when you compare, okay, what people don't understand is that the
Well,
red
when you
terror
when
is
you
a,
when
hold on, the red terror, a lot of it is just a propaganda campaign to scare the kulaks. Like white terror had 10 times more death. Like there's not even like they murdered entire villages, cut off people's breasts, cut off their arms and legs, and let them bleed to death, whatnot. Like white terror. So people don't like to talk about white terror because they think it's okay to kill peasants, but it's not okay for peasants to defend themselves when
Yeah.
these psychos are killing them.
Yeah.
right, well, like that whole Marx quote, he's actually specifically talking about the in reference to uh, like the whole like the terror that he's talking about. Immediately after that quote, he goes on to say that the true terrorists are the royal guard.
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely.
like yeah, I had the whole thing.
It's the suppression, if you want to pull it up.
Let's actually just get to the. I'm not. Never
Okay.
mind.
Yeah,
Or
we can go on. It's okay. It's all right. I don't want to look for the quote. Really, like.
okay. So today we are going to be reading basically two pieces. One about, but you'll basically realize how nothing ever fundamentally changes ever, um, no matter what. So this one is very familiar. It's called Wrathful Impotence. I'll share it with the chat.
I have it up if you need me to, Asha.
I already did.
Oh,
I will share it with Matt, and we'll read that one, followed by, yeah, let's just get to it.
do you want
So
to
this
read?
is with the first Duma. After in 1905, they had a bourgeoisie like this after all these strikes and stuff and Bloody Sunday and whatnot. The Tsar had to give up a little bit and have a fake Duma where and I've done this analysis before where I show you that the fake Duma is probably more democratic than our parliament in the U.S. But whatever. So they had a fake Duma basically that was only advisory. And oh, MJ is here. You should be. Hi. We are too. Yeah, I don't believe there will be. It's hard. Yeah, the last place to have a revolution will be the imperial core.
Yes. We're way too divided. I was actually, I mean, I think
No,
on
it's way more than that because basically the problem is that people are not able to translate mass discontent into some kind of organization and then create that into an action that fights power.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's we can't even. I don't know. Like it's I find like we can't even get on board with just the simple stuff.
Well,
Like,
no, the problem
Well, like
is that
the
I think,
problem,
hold on.
no, the problem isn't a matter of being like divided. It's that we're actually far too united against external enemies.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like I said, well, no, the ruling class has complete hegemony to the point that whatever the working class thinks does not even matter.
yeah.
It's like they can do anything they want without. What is this? Okay. Yeah. So let's. Who wants to start reading?
I can read because I didn't do any reading the last time.
Okay, I
I pushed the
all
button.
read out because I was at the library today.
Okay, so Wrathful Impotence, he writes this in July 26th or July 9th or.
Oh, okay, July. Okay, no. Okay, July 26th or 13th. Because remember that before 1917 they had the Julian calendar, and then in 1917 they translated it into the Gregorian calendar in 1918.
Yeah.
So I forgot whether the 26th is the Gregorian and the 13th is the Julian or vice versa, but one of them is in the
The
Julian.
26 is the Gregorian. So that is like, so translating to us, we have the later date. They have the earlier date.
Okay, so yeah,
And
he
now it's
wrote
like
it
October Revolution, but it's like in November. for
November
us.
7th.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
October Revolution. So they're always with the earlier dates.
Ah, okay, thank you.
Calendar. Okay, so number 104 of Iskra carries.
Oh, hold on. This is after the Bolshevik and Menshevik fight split,
Yeah.
and so the there's a new Iskra, which basically the Mensheviks like take over Iskra, and then Lenin starts a new thing called proletary, and now he's like explaining why Mensheviks are like basically tools of power and how they suck.
Okay, so number 104 of Iskra carries a retort to our feudalton, a third step back. That was in the proletary number 6.
Number 6. This is proletary number 9. Maybe I can get to handle. Okay, I got to handle one of the Iskras in the
Oh,
war
really?
already. Yeah,
Exciting.
I needed to wear gloves for it though,
I'm sure. Yeah, newspaper is going to be
especially
really
the
critical.
original one.
Yep. So which spoke quite calmly of the new Iskra group having made use of a printing press, supplies, and funds in the name of the party, but having refused to return party property. The state Iskra has been reduced to by its irritation over this statement is to
B.
be seen in the language it has been using, which is reminiscent of the Bun's inimitable brand of vituperation. I can't. I'm not gonna.
Vituperation. That's like venom. Like
All right. Iskra has courteously applied to us such terms as filthy swab, slanderous cowards, and so on and so forth. All this reminds one of the way Engels once characterized the polemic waged by a certain variety of immigrants.
gusanels.
And I love this line. So he's attributing this to Engels. Each word is like a chamber pot and not an empty one at that.
So it's basically Engels is saying it's full of piss.
Or shit.
Yeah.
Shit or piss, whatever.
I like that he included the German too.
Yeah.
Jedes Wort and nach. I can't do it.
Abend kein Lehr.
Und kein Lehrer.
Yeah.
Lehrer means learner or reader. I forgot.
Well, that must be empty.
No, leer means empty.
Empty.
Empty. Kein Lehrer, not one empty.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So we have, of course, not forgotten the French saying, abuse is the argument of those who are wrong.
Bingo.
We shall ask the unbiased reader calmly to pass judgment on the cause of all this fuss. The new Iskrists, that's hard to say, Iskrists.
Yeah, Iskra means spark. So spark. So in Russian, and Iskrists are people from the Iskra newspaper. So the new Sparkies.
The new Sparkies.
New Sparkies.
I call them Sparkies.
Yeah.
Have made no reply to a letter from the Central Committee asking them after the Third Congress to return party property. They do not recognize the Third Congress or the Central Committee's turn towards the Bolsheviks. That is also. However, the only conclusion to be drawn from such non-recognition is that in the new Iskris see it.
Just call them Sparkies.
As the new Sparkies see it, they should return not all party property, but only part of it. This is so obvious that in its retort, Iskra itself now speaks of the possibility, this is in quotes, the possibility of dividing up all party property. If that is the case, our dear opponents, why could you not have replied to the Central Committee's letter in that vein? Otherwise, it is beyond doubt that, however energetic the expressions you have used, the majority has rendered a full account of all its affairs by publishing the minutes on the Third Congress, while you have rendered no account to anybody concerning the use of party property, have published no minutes at all, but have only used bad language. Consider in a moment Consider in a moment of calm the impression such behavior must produce on all thinking people. Further, the Central Committee's turn towards the Congress is displeasing to Iskra. That is natural, but this turn is not the first to have taken place. A year ago, in August 1904, the Central Committee sided with the minority.
Minority are the Mensheviks, basically. Bolsha means big, Mensha means little. So Bolsheviks are the
I
big
didn't,
group. What?
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So in Russia, if you want, I want more apple. I want more apple to say. Я хочу большая яблоко.
Yeah, how boring is it once you realize that the Bolshoi ballet just means the big ballet?
Yeah, большое большой балет. Yeah, it means big ballet.
All right. All right. A year ago, we stated in print and publicly that we did not recognize the legality of the Central Committee's actions. It may be asked, how did we then behave with respect to party property? We handed over the printing press, stores, and funds to the Mensheviks. Iskra may hurl as much abuse as it likes, but facts are facts. We rendered due account and turned the property over to our opponents wishing to fight in the party spirit and to get a Congress called. Our opponents have been steering clear of a Congress and have rendered no account to anybody except their own adherents, and even to them in private, for no minutes of the conference were kept in the first place. And in the second, nothing is known either of its agenda or of the scope of its powers, i.e., the degree in which its decisions are binding upon the Mensheviks themselves.
Yeah, what you notice is that when people are not representative of the whole like class, they always do everything in secret. And when you're representing everyone in the class, like the majority, you don't have to do it in secret. It's done very openly.
I just want to bring up something. It's very like, so like what is to be done and what all that stuff like the printing press, like this is all about like mainly a printing press, like
No, but the printing presses back then were very expensive, and they had to print it
no,
abroad.
that's what I'm saying, like how important,
Yeah,
like, that he's writing a piece, and like the big part that they're talking about is who ended up with the printing press.
the only printing press the party had.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to me that he brings that up a lot, and we don't we seem to have to like keep in mind that for us to get everyone on board, we need to have one organ putting out the information, right?
Yep, like Iskra, like an all Russian newspaper. It's written in what is to be done. Literally, like somebody, like on TikTok, some idiot once asked me, "So where do you start with like this revolution stuff?" And I was like, "You should read "Where to Begin" by Lenin."
That's where you start, at the beginning.
And then the idiot tried to get me into like, what should we do? And I was like, well, read "What is to be done."
Yeah, none of this is being kept secret.
I know.
Yeah, where to, like, literally the piece is called "Where to Begin" and "What is to be done."
All right. The struggle within our party has ended in a split.
Okay, so hold on. Let me just tell people the details, because a lot of people in the West kind of think of these as word salads, but they don't understand the physical phenomenon. Okay, so the difference between the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks. So with Karl Marx's theory is that when you have capitalism run for a long time, what's going to happen is that it's going to empty out the villages, and a lot of people are going to go into the cities because they're going to be stuffed in like factories and like high rises and like little square apartments or whatever you have in these days. And I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah. I forgot. Oh yeah. And so the idea is that if you wait for capitalism to develop, people, the proletarian in the cities, when they become the majority, they can just like grab the guns from the bourgeoisie and turn on them. But Russia was not like that in 1905 or 1904 because they had only about 2 million proletarians or factory workers and about 100 million peasants or people who are, it's kind of like being an Uber driver is a good example of like what a peasant's life would be, is that they would till their land
Day
and then give like
laborers.
what?
Day laborers.
Daily, yeah, no, because they had land, kind of land, but they had to till
Well,
it and give like
they were tied to land.
yeah, tied to land. Yeah. Anyways, so basically that meant that Karl Marx's theory was not had to be changed for Russia, and the Lenin's idea was that you take this urban proletariat and then the rural peasants, unite them together to create a big red army and overthrow the government. But then the Mensheviks, on the other hand, didn't really want a revolution. So their idea was to just like wait until about 50 years or so until Russia becomes industrialized. But then Lenin, of course, shows that in imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism, that if you're destined to be a third world country in the global order, you'll never be and that'll never happen. So, so basically, that was the split between the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks.
Could you imagine though if they went the Menshevik route? We'd be living under Germany right now, I think.
No, it would be worse than that. We would be living under like a feudal hellhole. Like there would be every country would still be colonized. It would be a feudal hellhole. But and yeah, so that was the split. And then obviously what happened is that with the Mensheviks, the intelligentsia or like the wealthy people, uh, they um, they and most of the people abroad, i.e., the Gusanos, supported the Mensheviks, but the peasants and the proletarian inside of Russia obviously supported the Bolsheviks because they understood that, yeah, you can't really wait for the liberals and wait 50 years. Like, that was just ridiculous. So that was the split. And when the split happened, the first time, the first Congress, they deemed that the Bolsheviks were kind of quitting, so the Mensheviks needed the equipment and all that stuff. But then they convened the second Congress, and here the Mensheviks, instead of like actually trying to show up and adhere to the party rules that they had signed in 1901, they decided to boycott the conference.
Okay. So I'll do this paragraph, Matt, and then you can take over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Today, looking back at the history of the struggle prior to the split, anybody, of course, those who study the history of their party using the documents and do not merely give ear to old wives' tale in the way practiced by many who come here from Russia.
Here is back then that was Geneva, just so we.
Geneva, okay. Anybody can clearly see the general nature of the struggle. The majority, which is
Bolsheviks,
which has been accused of formalism, bureaucratism, and so on, has surrendered all its formal privileges and bureaucratic institutions to its opponents. First, the Central Organ's editorial board, then the party council, and finally the Central Committee. The Congress is the only thing it has refused to give up. The outcome has been that the Bolsheviks have restored the party, or rather, as the new Sparkies naturally think, have created their own party, founding all their party institutions wholly on the voluntary consent of party workers. First, the Bureau of Majority Committees, the Vyperyod.
Vyperyod means forward in Russian, and that was the first edition of the newspaper. And then the Tsar cracked down on that newspaper and banned it. So then they came out with Proletary.
So it's Vyperyod.
Yeah, let me just say Vyperyod. It means forward.
Pretty odd. Okay, a bit pretty odd.
Vyperyod.
Okay. I try to learn.
Just okay. Let me just say Vyperyod.
Vyperyod.
Okay. Vyperyod.
Vyperyod. Okay.
No, period. Say period. Vyperyod.
Vyperyod.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, you know what's really
I have to
funny?
do the
Okay,
check,
so
I think.
in Russian, oh, you know what's every time there's a v in it, it means to enter, and every time there's a v in it, it means to exit. So to lock to lock, it's vključil, but then to unlock, it's vključil. And so it's really it can be confusing when you're trying to learn vključil
Oh,
and
okay.
vključil, and
Yeah, so the V
vhod
has,
means entrance and vhod means exit.
all right.
Yeah.
And finally, the third party Congress. Our opponents, on the contrary, are holding on to their formal privileges and bureaucratic institutions given to them out of commiseration. Consider the following fact. Have not Lenin and Plekhanov made them the gift of the Central Organ's editorial board? When it calls itself the central organ of the party, proletariat, bases its claim on the Third Congress decisions which are not recognized by the Mensheviks, but have been clearly, precisely, and definitely recognized by the party majority whose composition is known to all. For its part, Iskra, which styles itself central organ of the party, bases that claim on the decisions of the Second Congress, which today are recognized neither by the Bolsheviks, we have replaced them by the decisions of the Third Congress, nor by the that
That's
is
true. That reminds me of every like fake rule that the Democratic Party makes up.
yeah. Parliamentarianism or no, like
Whatever, they just make up fake rules all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. That is the gist of the whole matter. After all, it was the Menshevik conference that revoked the rules of the Second Congress. It is the new Iskra group that is now clinging to the heading rejected by its own adherents.
This reminds me exactly of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Even Plekhanov himself, who could never see eye to eye with the new Iskris in matter of principle, but has made countless personal concessions to them, launched more than his share of attacks against the Bolsheviks, for which the new Iskris have been bowing and scraping to him. Even Plekhanov has declared that the conference has dealt a death blow to this at the central institutions, and has preferred to wash his hands of the matter. As for the new Iskra people, they go on calling themselves the quote unquote central organ and rail against those who tell them that their party stand is not merely wrong, but downright indecent. The abusive language that has provided the occasion for this writing is the psychologically inevitable consequence of a dim realization of that indecency.
Okay.
We
This
shall. Oh,
I love this. Okay, I'm gonna have to borrow this. The abusive language that has provided occasion for this writing is a psychologically inevitable consequence of a dim reality of that indecency. Good insult.
We shall remind the reader that even Mr. Struve, who has often voiced sympathy in principle with Trotsky, Starover, Akimov, and Martinov, and with the new Iskra trends in general, and the new Iskra conference in particular, even Mr. Struve was in his time obliged to acknowledge that their stand is not quite a correct one, or rather quite an incorrect one. Oh God, I'm not even going to
Okay,
try that.
I'll say it. It's asvabajdenia, which means freedom, like liberation or freedom. Because svoboda means freedom. Asvabadil is me. So the movie about this liberation of Berlin is Asvabajdenia Berlina.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, the longest thing I'm capable.
Yes, you can do it. If you can say svoboda,
the longest Russian word I'm capable of reading is the name Orzhona Kidza.
no, I think you can definitely read this because you already know svoboda, freedom.
Yeah.
Okay, every time. Okay, so what two? Okay, svoboda. Okay, but and then if you want to turn it into a noun, you say svabajdenia, and then you just add an a in front of it, so it's asvabajdenia.
Cool. We are all well aware that the mass of social democrats, especially the workers, are most dissatisfied with the split, but then who can be pleased with it? And are all ready to look for a solution, quote, wherever possible, unquote. We fully understand this frame of mind and have every respect for it, but we would warn all and sundry that a frame of mind is not enough.
I like
Uh,
that. A frame of mind is not enough.
the formula, quote, wherever possible, unquote, is worthless, for it
Absolutely.
lacks the chief thing, an understanding of the means of putting an end to the split.
Yep.
Bitter words, attempts to create a, quote, third something,
The
unquote.
third way.
Yeah, neither Bolshevik nor Menshevik will not help matters, but will only introduce greater confusion. And the example provided over the last 2 years by so powerful a personality as Plekhanov is a practical illustration of this. Uh, Let bitter words be resorted to by German social democrats who, like Karl Kautsky, have in the main learnt of the split in the party from biased sources.
Oh, by the way, Jacobin came out with yet another article, like, yeah, yet another article where they like talk about how Kautsky is awesome, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, everybody knows everything about every single mistake Kautsky's done because Lenin has taken so much time to point everyone out.
Their ignorance may be pardoned, though their claims to judge things they know nothing of are, of course, unpardonable.
This actually he could be talking about Jacobin today.
Russian social democrats must at last learn to despise those whose only recourse is to bitter words, who chop and change, hold forth on the subject of, quote, peace, unquote, but reveal their impotence when it comes to doing something real for the cause of peace. The real path to peace and unity in the party does not lie through hasty agreements, which will lead to new conflicts and to new and worse confusion, but through thorough and factual ascertainment of the tactical and organizational tendencies of both sides. In this respect, we are most satisfied with the new Iskra conference, which has revealed the irreparable disintegration of the new Iskra trend. Their tailism in questions of tactics has been smashed by the revolution, and their organization as process has become a laughingstock. They have been left on the one hand by Plekhanov, who has evidently been enlightened by the conference not only with regard to its organizational significance, but also with regard to adherence to principle on the part of the new Iskraists. On the other hand, they have been abandoned by Akimov, who has called the promises or the, quote, principles, unquote, of the St. Petersburg Mensheviks a, quote, hollow phrase, unquote.
Последняя известия. It means last news. Latest news, sorry.
Right. The party's third Congress has rallied the ranks of all this. You know, the funny thing is, if they left this in Cyrillic, I would actually be able to read it a lot better than I would in English. But like,
I only know this because I read this piece in Cyrillic in Russian first.
Yeah, like
before today.
Yeah, it's weird because once stuff gets transliterated out of Russian, like there's like entire syllables that get dropped when they move into the Latin alphabet. It's so weird.
Yeah, because Russian alphabet has way more letters. It's just a better alphabet, in my opinion.
The party third Congress has rallied the ranks of one of the sides. The other side has been smashed by the conference itself. It remains for us only to advise the conciliators to study the history of the split, examine the causes of the failure of Plekhanov's conciliation, and refrain from putting new wine into old bottles.
I like that.
Yeah.
And this is the same bullshit you're gonna hear next year when the election inevitably comes out. It's like unity and all this nonsense, and we all know that the Democratic Party doesn't really mean anything. They just mean shut up with like unity and whatnot.
I'm adding up. MJ had said when we were having the conversation before, but he said he doesn't think things will change until the red and the blue, the Republican and the Democrat.
Yeah, because they're both parties of the bourgeoisie. What you need is people to understand their class interests and to fight on behalf of their class. So MJ's 100% right.
Yes. And then Where Pilgrim wanted to know if you're able to take pictures of rear
It depends on the document. So each document has like a different note on how to preserve it. So it really depends on some documents, yes, others no.
Yeah. All right. So, and then just little comments here and there. So, yeah. So basically that,
And the funny thing is that these, like the 100-year-old Bolshevik like pamphlets, they're not the oldest thing in the library. Like the library has things that are like almost 1,000 years
yeah.
old, like
Oh
much
yeah.
older. This is considered like rather newish stuff.
I can imagine it has like all the old Russian stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it has like much more older stuff too that they've preserved.
Yeah. Have you looked at any of the older stuff? Are you just interested in, I mean, I know what you're interested in.
I'm overwhelmed with information, so not yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Maybe
I mean, it's just a whole nother world of stuff you would never see while you sit here in America. You know what I mean?
oh
Like,
no,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it's so. I just learned that in St. Petersburg, there's a Buddhist temple. It is the furthest one of, and it's been here for almost for God knows how really long time. But it is the furthest, most northern Buddhist temple in the world.
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so. I mean, it's so interesting. Like people, like I mean, of course, there was history here beforehand, but it wasn't kept the
Well,
way.
American history, they kind of try to obfuscate because they don't really want you to know too much
Oh
history
yeah, I
because
mean,
you're gonna be
in the last
horrified by it.
100 years,
So,
yeah,
yeah, in all Asian countries, they don't mind because they don't have the same horrors that American history has.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it. So, do you want to do the other
Yeah.
piece? You have
Can
something-
you share?
Yes, I will share it in the thing. You want to read, Asha, or do you want?
Yeah, I'll
No.
read. I can read.
Did Matt get this one? It's
No,
Uh,
he did not.
okay. It's a most lucid exposition of a most confused plan. I'm gonna put it in the
Okay, so this is about the fake Duma that I was talking about. They have a really stupid idea, and Lenin's explaining why this is a stupid idea. In a leading article, we pointed out what a muddle the new Iskra's new plan for a Duma campaign is. Here is the most lucid exposition of it given by Martov himself in the Vienna Arbeiter Zeitung, which means workers' magazine. Italics everywhere are Martov's own. The plan is as follows, says Comrade Martov, referring to his endorsement by the many organizations in Russia. Working class organizations are to assume the initiative in establishing people's agitation committees to be elected by all elements of the population that are not satisfied with the Tsar's reform. The task of such committees consists, first of all, in developing agitation for the genuine popular representation throughout the country. These committees are to be set up formally for the purposes of enabling the mass of population to take part in the forthcoming elections. Since by virtue of the electoral law, they are barred from direct participation in the elections, the citizens may take part indirectly by communicating their opinions and demands to the more exclusive bodies of privileged voters. The committees bring pressure to bear on the electoral body with the object of getting only resolute advocates, one, democratic and free representation elected to the Duma. Okay, so let me just quickly explain how the Duma worked. So they had three curias. It could be thought of as an electoral college. So what would happen is that there was a peasant's curia, a worker's curia, and a noble's curia. So basically, what that meant is that basically the nobles got 1/3 of the seats into there were two houses. The upper house was 100% noble. Only nobles got to elect it. And in the lower house, no matter what you did, even though the nobles made up less than 1% of the population, 1/3 of the Duma would automatically go to nobles. And then the workers' vote would be disillusioned because they'd have to go to their factory curias and vote, and then the representative from the factory curias would then come and elect like a gubernia representative. So it was like totally a joke for the most part. And the Bolsheviks rightfully decided to boycott this election because it was a total joke. And the Mensheviks did not want to boycott this election, so they had a Duma campaign on how to get workers' representation, even though literally it would just like distill down, if that makes sense. At the same time, the committee strived to set up, apart from legal representative body, an illegal representative party, which would be able at the right moment to come forward as the country's provisional organ of the people's will. The committees call on the population to elect their representative by universal suffrage. At a given moment, these representatives should gather in some one city and proclaim themselves a constituent assembly. Such is to say, the ideal objective of this campaign, whether matters will get so far as this or not, a movement along these lines will serve to organize a revolutionary self-government, will smash the shackles of czarist legality, and lay the foundation for the future triumph of the revolution. Little by little, the rudiments of such revolutionary self-government are arising all over Russia, as, for instance, has already happened in the two Caucasian, by Caucasian, they literally mean from the Caucasus Mountains here, gubernias, where the official authorities are being boycotted by the entire population, and the latter is being governed by its own elected authorities. In parentheses, the peasants of Guria, which is like an area that's a little north of modern-day Georgia, demand that these authorities be endorsed by our committee. The abolition of the autocracy, which does not wish to inaugurate a constitutional era voluntarily, must proceed by the way of setting up publicly so basically their idea is setting up a whole bunch of Juan Guaidos, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we all know how well that works. But must proceed by a way of setting up publicly functioning self-government bodies everywhere. As it goes without saying that the opportunities for this engendered by the increasing disorganization of the government apparatus and the growth of the effective power, Wirkendenkraft among the people. We recommend this peerless plan to the comrades of the ideal objective of the monarchist освобождение bourgeoisie as the ideal objective of liquidating the Russian proletarian peasant revolution by the liberal landlords. Освобождение League was basically something like a freedom league, and they had like really dumb ideas about like God built. They just had a whole bunch of dumb ideas. In the end, what they would do is basically their plan was always like to get the landlords to convince the Tsar to be a little nicer, and it always failed, of course.
Yeah.
As we have pointed out hundreds of times, the Освобождение League, the monarchist bourgeoisie, wants such a liquidation as it would bring about the transfer of power to the bourgeoisie. So they just want transfer of power from like the Tsar to the bourgeoisie. So it's like equivalent of like transferring it from the Queen of England to J.P. Morgan.
Magna Carta.
Yeah, no one really cares. Nothing useful happens. Magna Carta, exactly. That's
fat. Like corporations taking over is just fat.
Yeah. That's exactly what they wanted. Literally, they just wanted like rich landlords instead of like blood landlords. Yeah, instead of having an inbred relative of the Tsar in charge, they wanted somebody else's inbred relative. But
exactly.
Okay. As without a popular uprising, or at any rate, without complete victory of the uprising of the people, Manilov's plan for the elections, while the autocracy remains in power, play entirely into the hands of the liberal bourgeoisie, which alone is capable of producing anything at all resembling such elections. We dwell on the details of this ridiculous plan only briefly. Is it not naive to forget that the self-government in the Caucasus Mountains, not in two gubernias, but in a few volosts, and rests on an armed uprising. So a volest is like an oblast, and a gubernia is maybe like a state. So it's like basically two little districts, for like 10 minutes. Is it not puerile to imagine that what it is possible in a few mountain villages in a remote frontier district is possible in the heart of Russia without a people's victory over the autocracy? Is it not this plan of the multi-stage elections while power remains in the hands of the autocratic government a bit of superb pedantry? The dissatisfied elements of the population elect People's Agitation Committee without a program, without clear slogans. The committee sets up an illegal representative body, in all probability simply replacing the illegal organization of the Socialist Labour Party by an Asvabajdeniya organization. It is obvious that the substitution of the obscure term organ of the people's will for the clear revolutionary term a provisional government as the organ of the uprising is simply playing into the hands of the Zemstvo bourgeois party. Zemstvo means land, literally land. So he means landed bourgeoisie. Universal elections to a constituent assembly on the initiative of the illegal committees while Trepov and co. are left in power is an idea which is altogether infantile. In these disputes, it is sometimes useful to have a devil's advocate, one who defends an absurd view which is rejected by everyone. Iskra has now assumed this role. Its plan is most helpful for educational purposes in refuting absurdities at a meeting of study circles, extemporis mass meetings. It is very helpful for the purpose of bringing out more distinctly the contrast between slogans of the revolutionary proletariat and those of the monarchist liberal bourgeoisie.
Okay, I got two things.
By the way, Trepov was the governor of the St. Petersburg gubernia back in 1900 something.
Bye.
Yeah.
I got two things. Why does he name his shortest pieces the longest names?
God knows.
And the other thing is when you're talking, the second to last paragraph when you're talking, it sounds like almost you can kind of almost see where like he's talking about the peasants and how they can kind of run their own on their own. You know what I mean? Like in these villages, and they're able to do this.
No. He literally no. What he's main thing is that what like it's, okay in the middle of like the Caucasus Mountains, like if like one village has like a parallel government, it doesn't mean it's going to happen in St. Petersburg because the Tsar's entire arsenal is here. Like the amount of army people, like I was looking at a population survey, and half of the St. Petersburg population back in 1905 was literally army people. You're not gonna do that in 1900. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what it meant.
So industrialization brought people all together. Do you think that was one of the plans? Like they knew that if they brought so many people together, they could control them better?
No, that was not.
It was just a pleasant thing that happened for them.
No. That was, they couldn't control them at first. Then that's why you need to read Gramsci, because Gramsci explains how they started to control. And it's through imperialism where they let some of the fruits of imperialism trickle down to the workers. So the workers get a lot of goods. So then they are kind of lulled without really understanding how horrible capitalism really is. I mean, even today, when people are like, look at Cuba or whatever, and I'm like, okay, you should not support capitalism until you have your child working at a mine in Congo, because that's capitalism. But somehow most Westerners don't think Congo is capitalism, and it is. It is. Most of capitalism is Congo. Like America is a small portion of the capitalistic world where you have things trickle. It's like trickle down economics. It's just trickle down is even worse. And majority of the world lives like Congo, and that's capitalism.
Yeah. So, no, I was just thinking about like he's bringing that up, and like under feudalism, a lot of these people, like these peasants, didn't have it. I mean, they had it tough. They had it and they.
Remember we read about the development of capitalism in Russia and how basically capitalism, you had to ruin the peasantry and evict them, like mass eviction from their homes into the cities. There was a time when things was worse than feudalism under capitalism.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking about. I mean, it's the development in different places was different, but it all ends up doing the same thing to the people. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where we have to like pull out. So like when the Mensheviks were saying, "Oh, we got to wait till capitalism fully develops because that is the plan."
Well, but the thing is that if a country is just destined to be a third world country, fully developing is just,
Not
it's
going to
not.
happen.
The Mensheviks thought that if you wait long enough, Russia was going to be like Germany or England, but no, that's not how imperialism works. If you wait long enough, Russia was going to stay. Back then, Russia was like kind of like any third world country, and it was
Yeah,
just going to
well,
stay.
just Google the Russo-Asiatic Corporation. That was
Yeah,
that was Russia's future.
that was Russia's East India Company, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So basically, that's what it's. We have the map because it's there because there's the outlining things of what is to be done. And stuff like that. We know that, so we
But
can.
I love my favorites are definitely his pieces between 1905 and 1912, where he makes, because when you look at the Tsarist Duma, no idiot is gonna ever say, "Hey, that's an actual representative body," because it's the stupidest thing. But then when you compare it to the U.S. Congress and all the nonsense that
Oh yeah.
everything is up to, you real like there's so much. You'll see that they're doing the same exact things. You have the AOCs. Struve is the AOC who later at the end becomes a monarchist. And so you will see that you have all the same players just
Yeah.
repeating the same tactics over and over, and nothing really changing.
right.
So that's why yeah, I definitely will. Between 1905 and 1912 is like has a lot of work on the Duma and their runnings, and I think maybe we should focus on that. Actually, what I will do is I will clearly make a presentation that explains how the Duma worked, so that people understand how it worked, like legally, and then you can see all the happenings inside the Duma, and hopefully you can make a
I
connection with the U.S.
I
Congress.
I'd like to see that, but I'd also like to see it compared to the USSR.
Okay, I've actually done that,
Um,
not publicly, but definitely. The Duma, Tsarist Duma was probably slightly more democratic than the U.S. Congress.
Well, especially
If you consider dollar per vote, like some of the czars do.
not even
Hold on,
not even dollar per vote. Like no, like literally, because this was so. What year was this last one written?
1905.
Yeah, that was 8 years before senators in the U.S. were even elected by popular vote.
Oh yeah, good
oh yeah,
point. Back then, senators were just selected
yeah,
by
They were
governors.
selected by the state house.
Yeah, state house. Sorry, I thought they were, and then approved by governors.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah.
might have been different by the state, but yeah, they were all voted for by the state legislatures.
Yep,
Yeah, they probably could
great
even
point.
do a note or something if the
Yeah,
governor didn't make it.
yeah, and when you read, I've written an article about this. When you read James Madison, he explains the purpose of the Senate is to protect those with property from those without.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Federalist Paper number
He
10.
literally says that, and
Yes,
and he also says the purpose of the U.S. government is that to protect those with property from those without, or those who
correct.
are property, or whatever other iteration. And people and what you realize is that the U.S. system is designed very well in order. Like James Madison was a good designer of his plan.
Yes.
oh yeah. He,
Yeah.
he he wasn't a stupid man. He was a very smart man.
No, it works exactly as it is meant to
Yeah,
work. It is designed. So yeah, well, when you and that's why I really like it, because a lot of the time, like Lenin explains how to deal. Like there's this one piece where he compares the Trudovniks. Or back then, like they were like peasant, like they wanted like land for the peasants. They were like focused exclusively on that. Back then, they weren't so bad. And then he explains how the Trudovniks exposed the bullshit of the Black Hundreds better than the Cadets. Cadets is the Constitutional
yeah,
Democratic Party, and they work just like the Democratic Party. But
exactly.
yeah, imagine if our Democratic Party kind of cared about being constitutional.
Yeah.
So maybe our Democratic Party is worse than the Cadets. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh yeah, well, definitely. I mean, the cadets were like bourgeois, liberal, tailist, opportunist jackasses, but the U.S. Democratic Party is openly fascist.
Okay, fine.
I just don't. I don't feel like they're like. Oh, you go off of the liberal conservative, and you're the ones.
No, okay. Well, I mean, there is a thing. Like there is Lenin explains the difference, and the same difference still exists today. So with the Black Hundreds are like totally psycho warlords. So the difference is that even today, the Democratic Party represents new money, like stock trade, tech companies. The
Yeah.
Republican Party represents old money, like mining interests, drilling companies. So
Yeah.
it's still that same. So that is the main difference. Is that back then the old money, the Black Hundreds were like feudal warlords.
They were like specifically monarchists.
Yeah, no, but they were feudal warlords basically who had
Yeah.
their own private militias, and the Liberal Party represented the new industries who were like the Russo Asiatic Mining Company and the Thornton Mines or no, sorry, Thornton Factory. Oh my God! Yeah, I read. Oh my God! There was this one factory in Kiev I read about where people had literally worked 20 hours a day in
Yeah.
1906.
It's it's
It's
crazy.
crazy. I was shocked. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And this was written by a
I
czar,
used to
so he
be
had
I
no
used to
reason
be
to lie about
like
it
I
either.
used to be a line cook, so that's like a little less shocking to me.
20 hours a day. Come on,
like uh,
that's like 9 a.m. to midnight.
The most I worked in days was 16 to 18 hours. That was the
yeah, I usually
long.
when I was a line cook, like my usual day was I'd get in at like 9:45 and leave around 12:30,
Yeah,
like
Okay.
midnight.
Okay,
9:45.
you are very close to that. They
Yeah.
worked, yeah, because they only had like 4 hours. God
Yeah,
knows.
restaurant work is kind of messed up because you do and they do a lot of doubles like that.
Oh
Like
no, like nothing that happens like in the back of the house at a restaurant is like remotely legal. Like nothing.
Yeah.
crazy.
The only advantage is that if you're in the back of the house rather than the front of the house, like you are required to be paid at least minimum wage
Yeah.
because you aren't tipped. Like that's the only advantage.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
did much more waiting. I did much more out on the floor than in the
Yeah,
back. So
that's rough. I hate when like people like get into arguments on what's the fun side of the door. It's like neither. Like neither is the
Okay.
fun side of the
They
door.
both need a
Well,
crackdown.
the difference is the back of the house is better because like you have privacy to do cocaine, but like
yes,
Oh,
that's
yes,
about
yes.
it.
You can get away with a lot more.
okay. Yeah. Uh,
Anything
wow.
else you want to talk about, or have
Uh,
you been aware of any of the lovely bills that are coming out? And you're probably not even like paying attention to any of that, Esha.
I'm kind of mildly paying attention. My content is being systematically removed. All the RT documentaries we put up, like we subtitled and put up last year, three
Yeah.
of them got systematically removed.
Uh,
Now things since you left, things are getting much more interest. Well, not interesting. I won't say interesting. The bills that are coming up right now are just really fascist.
I heard that there's
yeah,
this
yeah,
one that just like eliminates welfare benefits for like millions of people, like boom.
Yep. Yep.
uh,
Um, yeah, I mean,
yeah. The emergency snap for the COVID pandemic that runs out
Yeah.
at the end of this month.
I mean, why the
Uh,
hell do you have such a provision that runs out? You don't need to like they don't like they notice how they didn't sunset random like giving giveaways to banks never get sunsetted, but things for the people are always getting sunsetted.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Like there's a time period, but like if there's any issue that a corporation has, there's no
well,
time.
They never get sunsetted.
this wasn't even no, this wasn't sunsetted. They deliberately decided to end this.
That is sunsetting.
Yeah,
Sunsetting is
well,
like
no, it didn't start with any
Start
sort
with
of
a
end
date.
date. It was always open ended. So they made a deliberate decision recently
mother
to end this.
effers, mother effers.
And so like now we go from totally insufficient benefits to objectively insulting benefits.
Yeah.
My God, yeah, this war. I mean, this war on the poor is ridiculous. Like, yeah, I don't know what to say other than, oh my God, unbelievable.
It really, I mean, and people don't like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not seeing it. I'm not, yeah, of course you're not seeing it.
Because though that's the way American neighborhoods are designed, such that if you're in a wealthy neighborhood, you're never going to see a poor person ever, because that's just the way cities are designed.
Yeah. And so you don't want to listen to the poor people on this. You don't want to listen to the marginalized communities, on what's happening to them. And you just want to, it's just easy for you to assume that, oh, because your life is okay, then everyone else.
Yeah, no, that's literally how they separate. It's kind of like a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit
what the suburbs were designed to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I forgot. Oh, I might be well, next week I'll be still in Russia, but I might be going to Belarus the week after that, but we can still stream from Belarus.
Cool.
Oh, good.
All right, excellent.
Did you go to Belarus yet?
Not yet. I need to get my visa for. I'm getting my visa this week. It's hard to get a visa for Belarus. I'm trying to get my press accreditation, so because I'm really, really trying for an interview with you know who.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he like I have. There's no reason for the president of Belarus to ever interview with me, but I will try.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly.
There may be a reason. He might be like, all right, she's.
That's exactly why I'm trying with my press accreditation. So I'm going to get my paperwork done. Obviously, there's no reason for him, but who knows? He might.
There's nothing if you're not tenacious.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, really, like, there's no reason for any of these people to ever talk with anyone, but they still do. So
exactly. So you're never going to get any interviews that you don't try.
Yeah.
Yes. You're always very good at asking for your interviews. So
I'm
there
persistent.
You never know.
I'm very persistent. But we'll see if this happens or not. My guess is no.
So what were you planning on doing in Belarus?
Basically, I'm gonna write something on so there's some shit going on the Ukraine side with the Belarus side. I'm trying to write something about that war operations.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I don't know why I mentioned it. It's not even worth it. Yeah, well, it's not going to change it. I bet you, my hotel room from Belarus will probably look just like this.
Probably. You so far they have a very it's very 70s.
Yeah, Eastern Europe has the most distinct wallpaper known to the human race. You can instantly tell when you're behind where the Iron Curtain used to be, just based on wallpaper alone, because it hasn't changed since the curtain came down.
No, it has never changed. I bet you this is 50 years old, this wallpaper, or longer. But it'll be I bet you my hotel will have exactly the same wallpaper no matter where it is.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Or it will look like somebody put a Persian rug on the wall, just floor to ceiling, wall to wall, corner to corner, Persian rug.
Well, thankfully my apartment has nice wooden floors.
Fake
wood.
Nice.
I can't tell if it's maybe fake wood, but there is something down there.
It's wood.
Well, you can if you feel it with your fingers, tiny little grooves. It's probably real wood. If it's all smooth, it's vinyl.
Okay, I feel tiny. Okay, I feel tiny grooves with my fingers.
Yeah, it's kind of like how you can tell fake pearls by rubbing them on your teeth.
Okay, so this is real wood. Awesome. Hold on. Yes.
I used to take my mom's diamond and try to cut mirrors with it when I was a kid.
Okay, look at this.
Oh,
yes, people still use wallpaper.
I did that too.
At this ugly see this ugly wallpaper here?
Yeah, my
example.
Still working.
Yep. My place is just stucco.
Okay, ugly wallpaper. Yes. So the answer is yes.
But it's easy to clean. So.
Ugly wallpaper is easier to clean?
No, the stucco that's on my wall. So it just looks like plaster with little swirls on it.
Okay, I hope my landlady is not watching this stream. And good, I have a feeling she doesn't understand English. So good. I just call her wallpaper ugly.
I'm not making fun of it.
Trust me, she knows. Because she's seen the price of wallpaper that isn't hideous, and that's why you have the ugly wallpaper.
Ah, okay.
Actually, it doesn't look ugly to me. It just looks like beige. So something with little lines or grooves
Yeah,
on it.
that's exactly what it is. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't look. It's not
Okay, let me
nearly.
do a close up if you guys want to see if it's ugly or not.
But like,
Okay, is this
Is the
wallpaper?
wallpaper ugly?
it almost looks like it's trying to like emulate like Wicker or something.
Okay, is this ugly or?
Oh
not
yeah,
ugly?
yeah. I see what you're saying, Matt. Yeah, it does. It kind of looks like it's almost like little wood or something.
Yeah, like it wants to make you look like you're in like a basket or something. It's not. It's not nearly the ugliest wallpaper like I've ever seen.
Good
Like
point.
through
I should take my camera and show you the wallpaper all right, I'm gonna have
Go
to
for
do this. Sorry, hold on.
You guys, yeah. I guess today is wallpaper day.
Yeah, I don't have any wallpaper to show off, so it's like yeah.
I'm not showing off. Yeah, the wicker basket. Pretty wallpaper. So pretty wallpaper is expensive. That's why I have ugly wallpaper.
Yeah, I don't actually know how like wallpaper works. So I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know either. So it's good to know that I have real wood floor though.
Yeah.
Because
so Janet froze and then went away.
Janet is showing off her new wallpaper. Oh my god, there was a cat. Take a picture and tweet it out to us because that is very. Oh my god.
Yeah, because she dropped out for me. I can't see it.
No, she dropped out because she's moving her camera to show how ugly her wallpaper is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, Russia has a lot of ugly wallpaper. But the buildings are really adorable and look very beautiful on the outside. They look like they're made out of candy.
Oh yeah, no, it does. Like everything, like all the really super old buildings in Russia, like all look like they're secretly cake. Like
Exactly.
They were in on the meme before it was cool.
Exactly. There are like some churches here in St. Petersburg that looks like that they're
Yeah,
like they're made of cake too.
Yeah, Saint Basil's Cathedral.
No, yes, Vasily Cathedral in Moscow.
Yeah, I always get it confused because like there's Saint Basil.
No, I think Basil and Vasily is the same name.
No, there's it's the same name. There's Saint Basil's Cathedral, and then there's Saint Peter's Basilica, and Basilica comes from the name Basil. So,
yeah. I got that confused in my Moscow video.
I always confuse the two.
No, in my Moscow video where I asked people, do you prefer capital? Actually, I did not ask them if they preferred capitalism or communism. Hold on. I asked them, what do you remember about the Soviet Union?
Yeah, I remember that video because that's where that's when
Janet can't get back in. Let me invite her again. Church or cake? That's a great idea. Oh my god, I'm so gonna do this segment. I'm gonna go and film a whole bunch of churches, and oh my god, I will totally do this segment. This is a great idea. Okay, Janet, I just sent you a new invite to WeChat. Church or cake? That is.
But no, I remember the video that you're talking about where you. But
it's funny because people
because that's where Natalia Antonovna blocked me.
No, Natalia Antonovna,
for thrashing her over her bullshit. Like
total bullshit. Exactly. She blocked me too, but it's total bullshit. Like, yes, I said but the important thing is, I'm like, I'm so glad that you mentioned this stupid thing because the important thing is that communism is better. And then it's funny, and then they're like, the reason why people prefer capitalism is because Putin's corrupt or whatnot. And I'm like, so you agree with me that communism is better than capitalism?
Yeah.
Like it's like when they make up excuses about Putin's corruption, it's like, yep. Hence, this was not present in communism.
Well, yeah, that's what I always tell liberals who like try to like make Putin seem scary to me by talking about the anti-gay propaganda law.
That was exciting. Hold on. American evangelicals went in.
Listen. What I always tell them is like, yes, I wish the Soviet Union was still around to oppress all this religious freedom too. Because that's exactly why that bill happened.
Yep, I know, on top of it, American evangelicals went. There's a Mother Jones article about this. Went in and
Oh yeah, no.
without American evangelicals, they did the same thing in Uganda and many other African countries too.
Yeah,
Because during the
talk about religion being oppressed under socialist regimes, what they mean
Thank
is
God.
like our Church of Ultra Reaction can't get in to like start brainwashing the Koreans, the Angolans.
There are so many, like around that time, around the Bush era, like that. Russia's not the only place they did it. They did it in like tens of hundreds of countries.
Oh yeah, no, okay. No, they sent them in like all through the former Yugoslavia.
Hold on. Okay, so next week MJ will join us with more Dimitrov. We're gonna read the big piece, so it's gonna be a few weeks long of like we're taking a Lenin break to do a lot more Georgy Dimitrov.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I guess with that, I will say, I forgot. Svoboda narodu smrti fascismu. Whatever you else want to say.
You can follow me on Twitter at uncle_authority.
Yep, and join us next week for more ugly wallpaper talk and floor tile talk.
There you go. Slava Leninu.